Hello again, Guardians, and welcome back to the channel for another Destiny episode. And as always, I am giving away 1,000 silver this week on the channel. And all you have to do to enter and win is be subscribed to this channel, show your support by liking the video, leave a comment down below in the comment section in reference to the materials we discuss in this video, alongside did you enjoy the content. Now, a lot of information is in this video, and a lot of it might be spoilers, so I do have to say, spoiler alert. We've got a lot of information data mined inside of Destiny that's possibly going into the game with the Age of Triumph record book coming in at the end of March. So to get right into this video, we've got a lot to talk about. So there's a Reddit post, and the Reddit user went on to the Destiny directory and data mined a bunch of items that we haven't seen yet inside of Destiny, and we also haven't seen data mined before. So all of this was recently added, and it's really speculation as to what's going to be added and what's not going to be added, but all of this stuff won't be added. Some of it might be, but again, it's just speculation. So let's get into the video and really talk about what's going on. So very first thing is you see the votes are in Future War, Cult, New Monarchy, Dead Orbit. We'll talk about that in a later video, but what we really want to get into are some of the consumables themselves and some materials that we'll be using inside of possible quests come the Age of Triumph. So the first one is the Indomitable Light. Now the Indomitable Light says increase the likelihood of weapon and armor drops from your next King's Fall foe. Cool thing with this is that could be used inside of the King's Fall in reference to the raid being re-upped to a new light level or coming back because of the Age of Triumph. We might actually have to go through the King's Fall again, and that's a very important thing to really note before going into the Age of Triumph and also towards the end of Destiny's Year 3. Next thing is the Valorous Light. Valorous Light does somewhat of the same concept, except this time increases the likelihood of a weapon and armor drop from your next heroic King's Fall foe, which is really important. So say you go through the War Priest, you go through Golgoroth, you go through the Sisters, or you can go through the final boss himself, Oryx, and you can get a weapon or armor piece, an extra drop on top of that. Then we can go back and we've got another one, which is the Heuristic Light. Heuristic Light does somewhat of the same thing again, but this time grants an additional Moldering Shard when conquering a foe in King's Fall. So I'm not really sure why you would need an additional Moldering Shard this time around inside of the actual game. King's Fall raid is so old now that possibly you have a bunch of Moldering Shards stacking up in your vault. But this is just an idea reference right now, and it's been data mined, so it could be added into the game, but most likely might not be because Bungie will deem it not useful for you to actually get into the game yet. Then we have moving on to more intriguing stuff, a lot of intriguing stuff, and that's going to be the very first thing going down, and you're going to be looking at the Exotic Armor Shard. Now, exotic armor shards are as what you would intend them to be, kind of upgrading your high quality exotic armor. And it says that, for making ultimate improvements to high quality armor. But I also speculate that this might be in reference to the new Vault of Glass or the Age of Triumph armor that was showcased with the Hunter sitting in the Vault of Glass. If we put the shard right up to the armor, the shard and the armor kind of looks like a part of the shard is actually infused into the armor set in a couple of spots on the Hunter. And I'm actually kind of speculating that the Vault of Glass armor that you can originally get can now be upgraded with the exotic armor shard to make it a new improved 400 light level with possibly added bonuses, maybe new perks, maybe better abilities, better stat rolls, and across the board might actually be one of those materials we use to actually progress into the Vault of Glass. So Vault of Glass might not get a full rework, but we might get some new materials we can acquire that will allow us to rework the armor and weapons inside of the Vault of Glass to make it a little bit more reasonable to take into Trials of Osiris or even possibly Iron Banner. Moving on, we have another one, which is going to be the Vex Chronos Spanner. Now, the Vex Chronos Spanner is a really interesting item, and I really hope they do add it into the game. And it actually allows you to do Nightfalls twice in a week with one Guardian. So a single-use piece of Vex technology. if you complete a given week's Nightfall or weekly Heroic Strike with this token in your inventory, and then play again, activating again in the same week, you'll be re-eligible for the rewards as if it was your first playthrough. So pretty much Nightfall is granted on all 3 of your Guardians. If you have 3 Guardians, say you have the Vex Chronos Spanner on each Guardian, and you can actually go in, do the Nightfall. As long as you go in with the Vex Chronos Spanner in your inventory still and do it again, you get a second additional reward on that same Guardian. So in technicality, you could, without taking any of your Guardians and dismantling them and making a new Guardian, you can get 6 Nightfall rewards by the end of the week. And that's actually a really cool concept. So really hoping they add that into the game. And moving onward, we end up having the vehicle shader template. Now, as you would think, the vehicle shader template would allow our vehicles, or our sparrows, to actually have a shader. And that's exactly what it says for the description. A layer of translation code that allows a shader to interface with the vehicle codings. And that would be really cool because I would actually put something like the Taken shader or the Glowhoo shader, and I would actually put it on my Sparrow. Now, alongside this, we do actually have a ship one as well. So there's a ship shader template, and that's DATAMINED as well. So this might all be added with the Age of Triumph, the new live event that's coming in the end of March. So stay tuned for any of that kind of news and information coming from Bungie. Nothing's confirmed yet, but it is DATAMINED, so it does exist in the game's code, just not in the game just yet. Moving onward, we have another really interesting piece, which is going to be the weapon kit. And the weapon kit's another material, and what it says is tools and materials required to upgrade and customize high-quality weapons. Now, I would really speculate that this is high-quality weapons like legendaries, not exotics. You shouldn't be able to customize your exotic weapons, but legendary weapons, on the other hand, possibly getting the weapon kit will allow you to put a certain perk on that weapon that you weren't able to grind for before. So say back in year 1 you had shot package, and that was the one perk you needed on your shotgun to do really good. And say you want shot package, but you couldn't actually farm in the Crucible for a shotgun with that because the game just wouldn't give it to you. Now you have a chance of possibly giving you your perfect rolled weapon. So there's weapons out there right now like the Palindrome or the IS Luna, and there's really decent weapons out there that people want certain rolls on those guns. And if you can't grind for it, maybe there's another means for you to equip that certain stat roll onto the gun that you want. So this is a really cool idea. So weapon kits, it actually might level the playing field for the people that grind the game for hours on hours and for the people that don't grind. And this might actually be a good thing for the end of Destiny's Year 3 moving into Destiny 2. It might give the chance for all players to be on equals ground by the end of Destiny 1. So moving on to the next thing, we actually have an exotic weapon core. Now this is where a little bit of speculation comes into play. So we have an exotic weapon core, and this exotic weapon core has a very unique description for making ultimate improvements to high quality weapons. Why would you need this for high quality weapons? It's the ultimate improvements to high quality weapons. So why would you need the exotic weapon core for your exotic weapons? Exotic weapons are supposed to be the best weapon out there. They're not supposed to change. They're supposed to be static to the perks that are available on those guns. And the only thing that can change is your stat rolls on your exotic armor pieces. So it's really interesting to see this. And that makes me question what's truly happening inside of the game, and with the update coming with the Age of Triumph in the March update coming very, very soon, this might actually be a portion of an exotic quest, which we'll talk about very soon. But we have to go to the next item to really talk about it a little bit more. So glass shards. So you would speculate that glass shards are part of the Vault of Glass, and it might actually be that. It sounds very Vex-like. Translucent shards of non-baryonic matter, trembling with contained energy. Now, that's actually a statement that was made towards what the Vault of Glass was. So, the Vault of Glass is made out of a very, very special material, and it does have baryonic matter going through it, but it's made out of non-baryonic matter, and it also trembles and vibrates to a contained energy inside of the Vault of Glass, which is where a lot of Guardians speculate that the Vex were created originally. And that's actually a really cool concept and idea, but that also is a glass shard that might be a special material in going towards the exotic shard material. Now, the exotic armor shard that I actually talked about earlier, where I was thinking it was actually going to be the portion where people were able to upgrade the Vault of Glass armor into new light levels. This might actually be the exotic material that you get by getting the original glass shard. So that's just all speculation, but a very high possibility. Next up, moving back over to the exotic core, the exotic weapon core that we talked about recently, we move on to the last two things of this video. The E-Poach Splinter and the Vex Raid Rare. Okay, so the E-Poach Splinter, this is where we get into the Vex Mythoclast, and this is also where we get into the exotic weapon core. So the exotic weapon core, I would expect, is a material that you use inside of a quest line or upgrading a certain gun that you acquire to get the Vex Mythoclast. But before you do that, there's actually some parts that you might want to acquire first. The E-Poach Splinter. Slivers of glass used by the Vex. Isotopic data suggests their age ranges across billions of years, past and future. And that is a legendary material. But we also have another material, which is the Vex Raid Rare, which is actually going to be an exotic material. And then it says Vex Raid Rare material for Vex Exotic Weapon Blueprint. And there you have it. Mind blown. Vex Mythoclast is coming back inside of the Age of Triumph with a brand new version of the Vault of Glass, and it's going to have a creation process. No longer will you go into the Vault of Glass, face Atheon, and get a random drop. No, you have an actual quest line to obtain the Vex Mythoclast. And that's basically it, Guardians. That's all the information for this. You guys can go through and check the data mined information yourselves. Go through the other items we haven't went over. But there's some really interesting stuff here. And we're going to talk about a couple of them in other videos, but some of it just didn't match up with the content I was doing in this video. So just stay tuned for future content on this information. I'll be putting videos up later today. Also, if you want to see future daily Destiny content, don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and also make sure to subscribe right now on this channel because a lot of Destiny content will be coming out very soon, and it's a very good time to subscribe. As always, Guardians, thank you for watching. Press the like button if you enjoyed. Leave some comments down below on questions or concerns or ideas you may have for future topics. And also, stay violent, be privileged. We'll see you all in the next episode.